narcissist's greatest threat isn't a loud enemy, but a compassionate soul who has finally walked away. Legend has it that Carl Jung believed the most savage strike against an ego-driven manipulator isn't hatred, it's the silence of an empath who is finished. What followed this revelation startled the psychological community. When a sensitive heart hits its limit, a massive internal transformation occurs. It is a mental shift so absolute that it shatters the manipulator's house of mirrors. These predators feed on your intense reactions and chaotic energy. Yet, their deepest dread is the icy calm of a healer who refuses to play. This isn't merely leaving a room. It is reclaiming your essence from a thief of joy. Jung's wisdom suggests that an empath's rebirth is a nightmare for the narcissist because it reveals the hollow void behind their mask. According to the father of analytical psychology, Carl Jung, a hidden war exists that many feel but few can name: the interaction between the parasite and the provider. This bond is far deeper than a standard argument. It is a collision between two incompatible realities. The egoist acts from a core of terror disguised as pride. Meanwhile, the empath moves through life seeking harmony and restoration. Jung noticed that manipulators aren't afraid of your rage because anger is a predictable fuel they can use. What truly shakes them is the person who stops feeling and starts seeing. The individual who ceases reacting and begins observing. When this shift happens, the predator's leverage evaporates instantly. Jung found that the most painful blow to a narcissist isn't physical. It is a profound mental pivot that makes the manipulator's strategy guide useless. Jung observed that empaths have a rare talent for hearing what is never spoken. They sense emotional ripples beyond language, making them both extraordinary and easily wounded. This sharp intuition allows them to catch tiny lies, hidden hurts, and dark motives, yet it also paints a target on their backs for those who use feelings as chains. Predators are pulled toward empaths like moths to a bright light because they see a source of endless warmth that asks for nothing. However, this specific quality, the empath's infinite mercy, becomes a lethal weapon once they point that love inward. To save your soul, you must first stop being your own enemy. Jung's philosophy proves that the journey isn't just fleeing a toxic person. It is about seizing your own emotional crown. When a sensitive person finally stops attempting to mend, calm, or rationalize a manipulator, a miracle happens. The egoist is left with no theater to perform in, and their entire identity starts to rot. The meeting of two souls, Jung noted, is like mixing two volatile chemicals. If a reaction occurs, both are forever altered. But what if that reaction is poison? When one spirit seeks to eat rather than embrace, the narcissist-empath bond becomes a psychological hurricane. One is a black hole, the other is a sun. At first it feels like a perfect fit, but underneath, a theft is taking place. The egoist survives on praise while the empath provides the air. However, Jung's vital realization was that this imbalance cannot last. Eventually, the empathic flame flickers out, and a storm arrives. The second the empath begins to doubt the connection is the moment the predator's chains begin to snap. Jung saw this as the pivot point, the specific second when the manipulator realizes the cage is open, even before the victim understands they are free. In the beginning, Jung noted, these two seem like soulmates. One needs a stage, the other needs to heal. But this fake harmony hides a dark truth that grows louder over time. The narcissist offers no real intimacy. Instead, they provide a scripted show, a mask built to steal rather than share. They mimic the empath's heart, echoing back whatever lies keep the victim trapped. Meanwhile, the empath, guided by a deep spirit, keeps believing in a change that never comes. Jung's work shows this isn't weakness. It is evidence of a massive heart. However, it is also a dangerous open door. The manipulator uses this hope until the day it dies. When the empath finally gazes through the smoke, the world shifts. Jung believed there is a mental snare that keeps sensitive people stuck for decades, a trap buried in their own shadows. Escaping requires facing the most brutal truth of all, that staying wasn't about the other person, but an internal need to earn one's right to exist. What keeps you trapped isn't stupidity, Jung argued, but hope. Hope for a miracle, for a cure, for the power of understanding. The empath stays because they are sure there is a person inside the monster, some buried trauma they can fix with enough kindness. But Jung's sharpest point was realizing that for the narcissist, the mask is the person. There is no hidden heart waiting to be saved, only layers of theater used to control. This cold truth is what finally cuts the cord. Jung saw that narcissists have one terror stronger than being left behind: the fear of being nothing. When an empath triggers this dread, everything breaks. A manipulator's greatest fear isn't your hate, it's your boredom. They need your fire to feel warm. When you stop burning for them, they are left in a freezing vacuum. The wake-up call starts with small errors, tiny holes in the perfect story, a purposeless lie, a cold heart when you are hurting. Jung noted these moments pile up like evidence in a trial, eventually forcing the empath to look at the monster directly. Until you own your darkness, your life will feel like a tragedy. For the healer, waking up means admitting that what they called love was actually a hostage situation. Jung mapped a transformation that happens in 3 specific steps. Steps that make an empath truly lethal to a narcissist because they become immune to the lies. The first step is emotional distance, not being mean, but a mental wall where the empath stops living in the narcissist's fiction. This is about shattering the habit of self-ruin. Jung saw that predators don't just steal time, they rewrite your identity. They build a world where your value is always up for debate. Breaking this requires shadow work, facing your own demons. What you ignore will eventually rule you. The empath must ask why they feel like a criminal for needing peace. The second step is the art of zero response. A manipulator needs a target to hit. When you refuse to bleed, the narcissist panics. This quiet isn't weak, it is a revolution. It says, "I am no longer your mirror." The predator may try rage or fake tears, but the empath stays still. They learn that peace is a solo journey. The third and ultimate step is finding an honest voice. Not a loud one, but a clear one. This voice calls a lie without asking for permission. Jung knew the power of naming the truth. It makes you the author again. When the empath prospers, it proves the narcissist was never the sun, just a cloud. In the end, Jung saw that the most terrifying person to a narcissist is the empath who has come home to themselves. Their joy proves that the game is over. Your limits are the walls of your sanctuary. Thank you for visiting the Winds of Thought. If this helped you find clarity, please like the video and mention our channel, Winds of Thought, in the comments to help others find their way back. To truly understand this dynamic, we must look deeper into the architecture of the human ego. Jung suggested that the narcissist is not simply an arrogant person, but a fragmented one. Their ego is like a fortress with no one inside. They spend their lives recruiting others to man the walls, to stand guard over a void they cannot bear to face. The empath, by contrast, is often overflowing with psychic energy. They are the natural citizens of the world's emotional landscape. When these two meet, the narcissist sees not a person, but a resource, a power station they can plug into. This initial phase of the relationship is often called love bombing, but in Jungian terms it is a form of psychic hijacking. The narcissist mirrors the empath's light so perfectly that the empath believes they have found a twin soul. In reality, they are looking at a reflection of their own beauty, projected onto a blank screen. As time passes, the screen begins to tear. The narcissist cannot maintain the projection forever because it requires a genuine core they do not possess. This is when the devaluation begins. For the empath, this is a period of profound confusion. They remember the light and wonder where it went. They begin to work harder, give more, and sacrifice their own needs to bring back the person they thought they knew. This is the empathic trap. Jung noted that we are often most attracted to those who represent our unlived lives, our shadows. The empath sees the narcissist's lack of boundaries and mistakes it for freedom. The narcissist sees the empath's depth and mistakes it for a weakness they can exploit. It is a tragic misunderstanding that can last for years or even decades, leaving the empath a shell of their former self. But the done empath is different. They have reached the state of enantiodromia, a Jungian term referring to the point where a force eventually turns into its opposite. The extreme of giving becomes the extreme of withholding. The extreme of silence becomes the extreme of truth. When the empath reaches this threshold, they are no longer interested in fixing the unfixable. They undergo a death of the old self. This is not a passive event, it is a violent psychic revolution. The empath realizes that their compassion was actually a form of ego, the belief that they were good enough or strong enough to save someone who did not want to be saved. By letting go of this savior complex, they strip the narcissist of their greatest weapon, the empath's own guilt. Once the guilt is gone, the narcissist becomes irrelevant. To a person who lives for attention, irrelevance is a fate worse than death. The done empath looks at the narcissist not with anger, but with a cold clinical clarity. They see the tantrums for what they are, the desperate gasps of a dying ego. This clarity is what Jung described as becoming conscious. When you are conscious, you can no longer be manipulated by the unconscious patterns of another. You see the strings, you see the stage, you see the actor. And when you see it all, you can simply walk out of the theater. The narcissist, left alone on the stage, has no one to perform for. Their reality depends entirely on your participation. Without your reaction, their drama ceases to exist. They are forced to face the silence, the very thing they have spent their entire lives running from. This process of reclamation is the ultimate form of shadow work. It requires the empath to look at their own dark side, the part of them that allowed the abuse to continue. They must ask themselves, what was I getting out of this? Why did I need to be a martyr? By answering these questions, the empath integrates their shadow. They become whole rather than just good. A whole person is a dangerous person because they cannot be bought, shamed, or controlled. They have found the source of their own light, and they no longer need the narcissist's reflection to feel seen. This is the true meaning of emotional sovereignty. It is the realization that your energy is your own, and no one has a right to it without your consent. In the final stages of this awakening, the empath often experiences a surge of creative and vital energy. This is because the massive amount of effort previously spent managing the narcissist is now available for their own life. They start new projects, form healthy connections, and rediscover hobbies they abandoned long ago. This flourishing is the ultimate revenge. Though the done empath no longer cares for revenge, their success is simply a byproduct of their freedom. As Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." The empath chooses to become the architect of their own reality. They build a life that is so vibrant and authentic that the narcissist's world looks gray and small by comparison. The legacy of such an awakening extends far beyond the individual. When one empath breaks free and reclaims their power, they send a ripple through the collective unconscious. They prove that the cycle of abuse can be broken. They demonstrate that boundaries are not walls, but bridges to a healthy self. This is why the work of Carl Jung remains so vital today. It provides a map for the soul's journey through the darkness and into the light. It reminds us that our greatest trials are often the catalysts for our greatest growth. The narcissist was not a mistake, they were a mirror, showing the empath exactly where they were still unhealed. By looking into that mirror and then walking away, the empath completes the journey of individuation. If you are currently in the midst of this struggle, know that your pain has a purpose. It is the friction necessary to ignite your transformation. You are not losing your mind, you are losing a version of yourself that no longer serves you. The done empath is not a person who has lost their heart, they are a person who has finally protected it. They have learned that true compassion includes compassion for oneself. This is the lesson that shatters the narcissist's world and builds a new, more resilient world for the empath. As you move forward, carry this wisdom with you. You are the source of your own light. No one can dim it unless you give them the match. Reclaim your fire, walk into your truth, and never look back. The path to freedom is open, and it starts with the word enough. Your boundaries are the architecture of your freedom. They define where you end and others begin. Without them, you are a house with no doors, vulnerable to any passerby. By building these doors, you are not being unkind, you are being responsible. You are honoring the gift of your life. The narcissist will call you selfish, cold, or heartless. Let them. Their words are merely the wind hitting the walls of a sanctuary they can no longer enter. Stay firm in your silence. Stay rooted in your clarity. The world needs the light of a healthy empath, not the exhaustion of a wounded one. By choosing yourself, you are ultimately choosing a better world for everyone. This is the ultimate victory, the one Jung knew was possible for every soul brave enough to face the shadow and claim the dawn. As you reflect on these insights, consider the power of your own observation. The next time you feel the pull of a manipulative dynamic, take a step back mentally. View the situation as if you were a scientist observing a phenomenon. This detachment is not a lack of feeling, it is a surplus of wisdom. It allows you to see the patterns before they trap you. It gives you the space to choose your response rather than simply reacting. This space is where your power lives. It is the still point in the center of the storm. Cultivate this stillness. Protect it with everything you have. It is your most valuable asset in a world that thrives on your distraction and distress. When you are still, you are untouchable. When you are still, you are free. Thank you for walking this path with us. May your journey toward wholeness be guided by truth and protected by the strength of your own soul. The shadow of minds is not a place of darkness, but a place where the light of consciousness reveals the hidden truths of our existence. Be the light, and the shadows will have no choice but to fade. In the final analysis, the empath's journey through the narcissistic landscape is a classic hero's journey. It involves the call to adventure, the initial attraction, the crossing of the threshold, the commitment to the relationship, the belly of the whale, the period of deepest abuse and confusion, and finally, the resurrection, the awakening and departure. Each stage is necessary for the final outcome. Without the struggle, there would be no strength. Without the lies, there would be no thirst for truth. The done empath is the hero who has returned from the underworld with the elixir of self-knowledge. They are forever changed, but they are also finally themselves. This is the gift of the dark night of the soul. It strips away everything that is not you, until only the truth remains. And the truth, as Jung so eloquently demonstrated, is that you are more than enough. You are a sovereign being, a miracle of consciousness, and a force of nature. Stand in that power, live in that truth, and let the silence of your freedom be the only answer you ever give to those who try to keep you small. The world is waiting for the authentic you. Go forth and meet it.